Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the Broke to Brokers YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at another very low nano cap type of stock here. It's a coffee stock. We're going to talk about coffee as a whole and how I kind of perceive it, the direction that coffee stocks are headed in general, and we're going to take a look at some of the big ones to kind of look at the potential that some of the smaller coffee stocks like Reborn Coffee, have. So we're going to get an idea of potential. And actually, we're going to just start with the website. I want to talk about things I like, why this one stood out to me. And then we'll get into more of the fundamentals and, like I mentioned, the overall coffee market and where I think there could be some value that maybe a lot of people have kind of been missing from some of these coffee stocks. So first off, what is Reborn Coffee? They are a location consumer, coffee company, or basically they sell to consumer by location, but so retail money there. But they also just launched, a bunch of new products that are shipped to customer as well, so they can send you like all types of stuff. You got all types of beans here that you can choose from. They also added something I think is really cool. They increased their retail business just recently. I believe this was just last month. Well, I guess 2 months ago, but they announced that they're going to be adding a cold brew line, which just furthers their reach in terms of their brand. So people are, because, when you think of like Starbucks, for example, everybody knows about their cold brew lineup as well because you see them all the time. They're in every single store, gas stations, any grocery store you go to, you're going to see Starbucks branded coffee in, the cold area. I don't know what you call it, but where the creamers are, or yeah, whatever, near your milk. So what do they do exactly? So they're starting to kind of branch out. They sell, like I mentioned, their retail. Something interesting about them is they're expanding really rapidly right now. It seems like they're really ramping up, their availability of their products. They're even, launching new products altogether. And they're doing this all in a very short time because they just also announced this was just 2 weeks ago, but last month in January, that they're now going to be expanding their growth to all across the US markets. Right now, they're basically just localized to California, which California is an amazing place to be. Huge, I mean, over 10% of America lives in California, right? They have like 40 million people. So, great place for a company to start, but the idea here is that they're going to expand locations across the board. They already have one upcoming, I believe, in Anaheim. Let's take a look at that. So right now they only have 12 locations. So these are all California locations. No, they already have Anaheim. They're going to be adding one in Pasadena. So that is coming up soon, which is really interesting. Like they're still expanding. That tells you that something is successful if they're willing to be expanding and investing into the future of the company. They're not just kind of laying back and trying to take profits and just kind of ride the tide a little bit here. They're really trying to become a household name and a staple in the coffee industry. So let's talk about the coffee sector as a whole before we look at fundamentals, before we look at pricing and all that. So for instance, Starbucks has, obviously, it is the most popular brand in terms of coffee, right? When you think of, let me move this over here. When you think of a coffee brand, you probably think of like something like Starbucks. And for good reason, they're literally everywhere. Starbucks, actually, a fun fact about them, they have over 40,000 locations. Now we're talking about a stock that only has 12 locations. That tells you right there with that one stat alone, just the immense amount of growth potential in the coffee industry. They're barely tapping into it. So it's something that we should be aware because in this sector, there's really not a ceiling for them anytime soon. There's a lot of competition, and we got to understand that. But people can say that about any industry, that it's oversaturated, that there's tons of competition, that a company won't make it. But this company innovating, adding more to their lineup, doing a lot of things, it has a lot of attention. We're going to talk about that. Like, it's not just me noticing that this company is starting to rise and kind of move into a very they're setting themselves up really well for future projections. But anyways, so let's look at these prices here. So you notice that this overall, Starbucks has only really increased in value. If you bought Starbucks, I mean, anytime before 2021, you made a crazy amount of profit. Especially from that 2008 after the recession that we had. This thing just exploded, right? Because the thing about coffee, unlike tech, coffee, people are always gonna want and need coffee. Like I say, they're people are gonna need it, but I mean, people are craving coffee because of the caffeine in it. We're fueling their addictions, but it's okay because caffeine is pretty much harmless, so we're fine. So, anyways, you can see that the growth potential is there. Starbucks is booming. They had a couple dips here, but what would you expect? They're over 100 billion in market cap. They're not going to be able to grow forever. I think right now they've kind of leveled out, but they haven't really lost a whole lot of value there. You'll see some of these dips here. This mostly happens over the summer, it looks like, when people are not drinking as much coffee because it's super freaking hot. You know, nobody thinks, oh, I need a hot coffee when it's freaking 100 degrees outside. That's what I think, but honestly, I love coffee in the wintertime even more. I don't know why. Something about winter drinking coffee is just better because of the heat, I guess, because it's warm. But still, I mean, there's cold coffees, there's frappuccinos, there's all these things that you can do that are still able to give you like a nice treat, still coffee. And hey, people drink hot coffee in the hot times too. We're also going to look at Dutch Bros, another very large coffee brand here, and you can see Dutch Bros is booming. So what this tells me, because they're actually almost approaching an all-time high here. I mean, when they founded, I don't know how they did that, but they jumped up incredibly high back in 2021. This wasn't when they're founded, I'm sorry. They're founded in 92, but when they listed in 21, a lot of hype on it. So for them to come back and now almost achieve those all-time highs, that tells me the coffee industry is very big right now. A lot of people are investing in coffee, and it's kind of interesting because before, not so much, right? But now we're in this huge growth sector for coffee, and a lot of people are investing in it. And also, Dutch Bros is just doing a great job of also innovating, and they have, I mean, you can see it here, they have almost $1 billion in revenue yearly, which is insane. So we're going to take a look at the financials real quick for Reborn Coffee. I will, just give you a heads up here. I don't understand a lot of the financial aspects of stocks. I'm just giving you, my 2 cents on what I see here in terms of, options for a company. And the main thing that I look for is not extreme dilution in stocks. I don't want to see the outstanding share count. I don't want to see this 3x, 4x, 5x, because that dilution, and that could be due to institutions, that could be due to the insiders, or it could be due to just they're doing offerings, and those offerings are basically just adding new shares, and basically it takes away from your ownership if you're holding before they did a offering. So it doesn't take away your shares. It takes away your percentage of ownership of the company when they dilute and add shares. So we do see a little bit of dilution. I'm not thinking this is too alarming, because when I start to see a 2 to 3x in the yearly difference here, that's when I'm like, okay, they're kind of at my end of the rope in terms of what I would want to see in terms of outstanding shares growth. we'd want to see this kind of stay pretty close to the same. You know, the fact they went from half a million all the way up to 2 million is 4x. But recently, if you look at just the last 4 years, not so much, right? 1.3 to 2 million. That's a little easier to understand. I think when they're starting off, they probably needed to raise a lot of capital by doing, maybe reverse stock splits to keep their listing. Maybe they did some offerings. But that's one thing I like to look at. EPS, I know that, ideally you want to have as much as possible that you earn per share. They're just, the truth is right now, they're just not net positive. They're not profitable yet. Because again, this is a very small company. I think they only had like 20 million, not even 20 million in their market cap. They're a very small company. But it's something to look at because there's, like I mentioned, people are always going to be drinking coffee. But are they improving? Are they adjusting their company financials and trying to improve it? I would say absolutely. We can look at their revenue, which is pretty damn good. Like, if you're looking 4 years ago, 5 years ago, under a million, now they're up to 5.5 million for just this last year. That's actually an insane amount of growth. If you think about that in terms of, these numbers and revenue growth, okay, they didn't have a lot last year. I would almost excuse that because they had 70% the year before. So the odds are their revenue is not going to go down. It's only going to improve because, like we saw before, they're adding locations. This is adding to their brand. This is adding to every single time people drive by these places, whether they think it or not, they're keeping a mental note that, hey, Reborn Coffee is like a brand now. And if they start to see them start to pop up everywhere, they're going to think, okay, it's obviously good coffee, right? I'm going to have to try it. They're just adding to the awareness and exposure. And that's really one of the nice things when it comes to these types of stocks that are adding locations. They're adding a lot. They're adding to their business. Sure, it's an investment. I mean, getting these businesses open, these locations going in terms of all the work that involves that is a lot. But every single one, I think, increases the value of the company, and that's one way we can measure that. Yeah, like I mentioned, they have now a cold brew line. They got coffee beans that you can order straight to your door from them. You can order them through their website here. There's just a lot of options. I think they even have, they have like subscriptions you can get, so you can have it routinely sent to you on like a monthly basis. A very, very cool stock. One thing I also found out about them is they do have pretty high insider, where was I seeing that? They had like over 40% in terms of insider ownership, which I think is great. Yeah, I was doing a little bit of checking with my chat GPT here, and you can see they have approximately 43% in insiders holding. You want as much as possible for insiders to hold in a stock because that means the the big dogs, the CEO, the board of directors, everybody that is in charge of the company owning stocks means that they have skin in the game, that they care about what happens to their investors. Because a lot of penny stocks, I will tell you this, they will just constantly dump on their investors. And their shareholders, they lose confidence and they sell out, and then the price goes all the way down. And they have to do that because they still want a salary. These directors and CEOs, COOs, CFOs, all these people, they still need to make money, but they can't do it off their stock because, well, they have to raise capital because their business isn't working. The financials don't work for their company. But with a company like this, they have high insider ownership, meaning that they do care. if their stock price goes down, it benefits them more so to see it rise because, like we saw here, they have skin in the game. They care that, you know, what happens to the stock. So anyways, that's one reason I like to look at that as well. And you don't have to be an accountant to understand some of those basic things. That's why I wanted to share it with you, because I am fairly new to investing, been investing for the past year, just on and off, doing a couple small trades here and there. But as I'm trying to build my understanding of it, I want to share that with you guys as part of the reason why I made this channel, is I want to talk about all that stuff and share it with you. And you guys could help me out as well if there's things that you want to share about the company, or that you found out about it, or if I get something wrong, absolutely let me know. At the end of the day, all of us that are watching this, we all just have the same goal, trying to make money. So that's what I want to do for you guys and want for myself. Let's take a look at the chart, because this was something incredible that they've been on a run here. So unfortunately, their value dropped over the course of, so from August all the way to November, mid-November, we saw the price go from $4 all the way down to $1. So they lost 75% of the value of their business in that term. And that's not accounting for the huge bull run they had prior to that. It looks like they had a bull run from May all the way to June, which, wow. I mean, we're looking at $1.20, $1.40, all the way up to $8.90. So this thing has been through quite a bit of a range, even more so than we're at right now at 521. It's already been up to 878. So that tells us that they do have that potential to grow. There's people that are watching for stocks like this to see who's innovating. We had such a huge spike up like this that, and I'm not going to say, nothing I say is financial advice. So in a hypothetical world, if you invested, there's a good chance it could stay at this rate and test it for a while, or there's a good chance it comes back down because we had such a big run up, right? So some people already, from just entering at $1 to $1.40, are sitting at a 3x right now, or 4x, or 5x. I mean, like I said, it's been down to $1. So, you know, these people that have 3 to 5x in their value, maybe they started to see this coming down and decide to also sell because they want to retain profit. People want to keep money that they've made by holding, you know, a good stock, a performing stock. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did see it come down. However, if there's any new headlines on further expansion, like we saw here, they're expanding the cold brew line that they added, brand new, and expanding all across the U.S. So they're finally breaking out of that California market, and they're going across to all the U.S. They want to open more than 100 franchise locations within the next 3 years. They're only at 12 right now. So I think this is huge news, but we have to also keep in mind this is projected for the next 3 years, and stocks do a lot of things in 3 years. But if they do add more and more locations, we're going to see overall the floor of Reborn Coffee hold higher and higher. It's going to build those higher lows and higher lows. Other than that, I'd say this is a really interesting company. They're innovating a lot. They're adding a lot of, they're just furthering their business dramatically, like extremely quickly. If they can achieve 100 locations in 3 years, I have no doubt that they're probably going to break $10 here. They're probably going to go way further than that if they add 100 locations. We're going to see a 20 million market cap company become a 200 million market cap company. But we also might see, because we saw that they are in debt, we might not see them be able to reach that potential. So there's a lot of, there's room for both sides, right? Are they growing their revenue? Absolutely. That bottom dollar is increasing with the further expansion. But we also aren't seeing that they're profitable because they don't have any cash flow. They kind of leveled out from last year at about 4 million negative cash flow, meaning that they're in debt 4 million. But honestly, it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. I'm gonna definitely keep it in my watch list for the next few months, and if I see some good opportunities, I might actually even put a position in. But let me know what you guys think of this one. I think it's a very interesting company. Like I said, high insider holding. Obviously, the people on the inside believe in it, and they see a goal. We'll see if our shareholders, myself, anybody else looking at it, can also have that same goal that the insiders have. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you in the next stock video. Peace and butt grease.